I wish there were a way in
adage.
FaceTime here to shoot a gun at you,
That would be like Bruce Lee fighting Cliff.
but
Oh, wait.
there is not.
Right.
So I can merely glare at you sternly.
And you're just running rough trout.
Rough shot, I think, is the expression you're looking for.
No, I think it's rough trout.
Rough trout?
Rough trout?
Trouts are rough. They're uncomfortable.
Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast. I'm Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite Dink and Dunk, the VC boys. Say hello, Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Say hello, Adam.
Dinkly dunk dunk.
I couldn't figure out which of those I wanted to be, so I went with none.
Dink.
For this episode, we read chapters 37 through 42 of The Fires of Heaven. We'll begin our conversation with our view from Dragonmount before putting on our sackcloth and ashes while discussing our favorite crazy Shinaran Masema in the Prophet motive. We'll then move on to rhapsodizing on our Emonds Field rapscallion and take into the mat prior to checking in with the Dragon Reborn and get Randy, and then we'll wrap up with our Coplin of the week and who leveled up.
Very, very succinct.
Succinct and fantastic.
But let's circle back a little bit. Who's Dink and who's Dunk? I'll be Dunk because I want to dunk on some fools.
Oh, I think you were getting dunked on. I'm going to dink it to my guy who's going to dunk it on you.
What? I'm Dunk getting dunked on?
That's right. So you just interpreted it wrong. You didn't think about it for long enough.
I don't like this situation.
So without further ado, let's put on our wingsuits and dive down to our well-known jagged peak for our view from Dragonmount, which begins in chapter 37 with performances in Samara.
The view from Dragonmount.
So there we are in Samara, and Birgitte confronts Nynaeve for her moping guilt over Birgitte's condition. What is going on in this relationship? This relationship has taken a turn for the bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean,
Birgitte is clearly not satisfied with the way that Nynaeve is reacting to her and has now taken to needling her in order to restore Nynaeve's personality to its original acerbity.
I think we've gone beyond needling.
I mean, she explains it right out what took place. She says, I liked you, Nynaeve, thorns, warts, and all.
Yeah.
I do not like you anymore now because she's
genuine.
just simpering. She's not acting her strong self, which was part of what Birgitte liked about her.
Yeah.
So Nynaeve is feeling guilty over the fact that she's gotten Birgitte kicked out of the Wheel of Time, basically, right?
I think I'm in agreement with Birgitte. I don't like Nynaeve this way. I mean, we all didn't like Nynaeve before, but she's really annoying now.
Birgitte is saying that Nynaeve is trying to make her less because she's basically just saying, hey, you're saying that you're the one that's in control of this entire situation without actually, no, I've been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, and I don't think Nynaeve's intentionally trying to make it less. She's trying to resolve her own guilt is what she's doing, but she's doing it all the wrong way.
Right. Birgitte is doing two things. I think she feels her pride is injured here by Nynaeve's reaction, and she feels like Nynaeve's reaction is robbing her of her agency, which she flat out says. And then I think there's also an aspect of, though she hasn't admitted this in any way, shape, or form, I feel like there's an aspect of she's trying to raise Nynaeve's spirits also.
Seems like it.
She's trying to get her to woman up.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny to me that all this time we've been annoyed by Nynaeve and her pluck, and now we're annoyed with her and her simpering.
Because I'm the nurse who likes to.
Yes. Well done. Touche. Yeah.
But see, I don't know that it was her pluck, let's say, so much that was annoying as it was her acid tongue. You can be courageous and, let's say, a powerful woman without being like the way she behaves a lot of the time.
It's totally possible to have,
we need a middle ground.
To have an energetic personality and not be negative.
And I think we had that. We had that from Nynaeve for a period of time before Moghedien popped in and ruined things, which is all she seems to be good for.
We did. She was learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was learning. The major thing that annoyed me about Nynaeve was their Two Rivers stubbornness and the fact that she wouldn't let go of her blind hatred of Moiraine.
Or the thing that she's pretending she's not becoming.
I think she let that go a while ago.
I don't think so, because she not too long ago, she was just talking about it again. Like, she was talking about the fact that she's, again, only there for a singular purpose and she's not going to be one of them. And I feel like it was just a few chapters ago.
We've had conversations about her becoming more and more like an Aes Sedai, so...
But she doesn't want to be. Still.
No, what we're recognizing is more of a subconscious trend
A shift,
than it is than it is something that she's aware of.
Before that, Brigitte says something about a snow ghost.
Yeah, whatever that is. And Nynaeve doesn't know what that is.
No one knows what that is, but Dave has brought up Game of Thrones ripping stuff off of this.
Oh, well, yeah, good point.
That's more like a snow undead. They're not ghosts. They're more like vampires, but...
Just another reference.
Brigitte is filled with these obscure references to ages
For good
long
reason.
gone by.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nynaeve leaves Brigitte to the big top where she witnesses Uno talking to Luca and Julian's high wire act. What?
Kiwi's big top?
Sure. Yeah. Elaine then comes out to do her tightrope act without channeling. So now we watch Elaine and Julian do a little high wire act there.
Julian's drunk out of his mind.
But he isn't.
Right. So Julian is now an actor and Elaine is officially a tightrope walker because now she's doing this without the power. So that takes us to chapter 38,
indeed.
An old acquaintance. Nynaeve tracks Uno down and introduces herself to him. Uno drags her out of the menagerie grounds so that they can talk.
The face. I never bloody well forget a pretty face.
Jordan
Bloody well doesn't.
Creep.
Jordan seems to have a solid grasp of publicity here, with the most successful menageries having an element that teases the audience enough to draw them in. So you have the Sredit and Luca, who every once in a while their horn and feet will raise above the barrier that's circling around his menagerie, enticing people in. And then the Mistress Gomes has the contortionists outside of hers. So who knew that Madmen was such a big influence on the Wheel of Time series?
Yeah.
Well, it might just be Barnum and Bailey.
He demonstrates a weird, uncanny understanding of publicity here. Which,
definitely.
Which was not something I expected from this book.
Didn't Luca say that he had some creature that he just has around and he has no idea where it's from or what it is?
That seems he would probably make up the publicity.
That has to do with Barnum and Bailey. They created that Mermanston character out of a monkey.
You apparently have delved into the obscure annals of Barnum and Bailey's more embarrassing history than perhaps the rest of us have.
I just know it from the Museum of Science and Industry.
It's a frog?
There was probably a frog man. Anyhow.
So we also learned it's apparently been
advertising.
No, it's too late. It's too late.
Advertising.
It's too late.
I don't even know the show, so I can contribute nothing to this.
That ship has sailed there, Chuckles.
I'm glad it sunk with the bad anchoring.
It apparently has been a year since Falma. So now we get another time frame reference there
instead of Falme.
Oh! Now you want me to mispronounce it? So first you disagree with my analogy, and now you're commenting on my pronunciation. Are there any other criticisms that you would like to lob my way there?
Is there anything else we can add to the outcome of this case?
And erotic. All right. Una reveals that when they went to the city Moiraine had told them to go to, the envoy she told them to meet had died mysteriously. So remember, the last time we saw these guys was when
Johanna.
Right, when they were coming out of the mountains chasing Rand at the beginning of The Dragon Reborn, and she sent them off to Johanna and then said, swing around when you're done there and meet up with my envoy. And the person that they were supposed to meet died. And then
in her sleep,
Masema went off the deep end.
I think Masema was going off the deep end before that.
Yes, probably. I like blaming it on this woman who got murdered instead. It seems far more significant.
No.
It probably had something to do with Madmen. And
she died in her sleep. She just passed away.
Supposedly.
She just fell asleep and didn't wake up.
Right. Yeah.
It happens.
As many Aes Sedai eyes and ears do. It's the way they die.
As we all wish.
Elephants wander off to the graveyard. Aes Sedai eyes and ears just simply pass away in their sleep of unknown circumstances.
Maybe she drank too much fork root.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, maybe.
It must have been around that time that Masema started spouting his nonsense, and they stuck around because he's providing them with food and coins. So why not hang around a crazy guy? Uno is taking her into Samara to meet Masema, but changes his mind just outside of the city gates because of the dangerous conditions in the city. And then Nynaeve just goes barreling on past him into the town anyway.
And we got a little bit of Nynaeve.
No.
Right. She's back, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. And then we also learned that White Cloaks had hung a woman for doing sleight of hand at one of these shows.
Yeah.
So, like many of us, they don't like magic tricks.
Who doesn't like a magic?
How are they getting the power to just randomly do that? I mean, they're not in
For real.
Amadisia.
Well, they're in Gildan, but they're just barely in Gildan, right? They're just on the other side of the border.
I mean, they're soldiers.
Sort of.
Apparently, they're not very good ones.
Well, they don't seem to outnumber the White Cloaks, who seem to be around here in numbers. The White Cloaks don't like Siegfried and Roy, is really what we learned.
They had 58 tigers and 58 tigers and lions.
Oh, my.
Chapter 39, Encounters in Samara. So Uno and Nynaeve enter Samara, as one might guess by the chapter title. Ragan joins them. They take Nynaeve to Masema. Nynaeve witnesses a meeting between Masema and Alejandra, the now queen of Gildan, which goes rather interestingly for Alejandra.
Yeah, well, when dealing with the Madmen, it's kind of like when in Rome.
Dealing with a madman who is in control, apparently.
Which is slightly different than
Masema
Diary of a
says that
Madman. Those are two very
He thinks that
different
the tower is going to try to control the Lord Dragon. Well, interesting, Masema.
Yeah.
Interesting that you say that.
I wonder where he would have gathered that, seeing as how he was hanging out with an Aes Sedai and the dragon for a certain number of months.
Maybe he killed the Aes Sedai eyes and ears and stole all the information from her.
Yeah. Despite promising her escort that she'll guard her tongue, Nynaeve can't quite after being admonished for her attire. So she lashes out at Masema, and then she finally gets Masema to agree that he'll find she and Elaine a boat to Tyr. And then they leave. And they're followed by our other favorite White Cloak, Galad, which takes
The
us
handsome one.
which takes us into chapter 40, where they quickly duck into an alley to avoid Galad, but he's not fooled.
He be smart, too.
Nynaeve asks Galad what he's doing there, and what do you know? He was on his way to Saladar.
Yeah.
Saladar!
Ding, ding,
That's
ding,
it.
ding,
I was
ding.
way off.
Wait a second.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
that town
me-
that the Blues
both
had chosen
me-
because it was so out of the way and forgotten by everyone. Why is
Both
he
now-
going to Saladar?
Well, my only guess is that
For the salad bar.
right. That was my only guess.
No.
How did you know?
He would be going to Ponderosa for that.
Right. We've already discussed this.
Right, we've had
And
conversations
the meat
about
sandwiches
the amazing salad bar at Ponderosa.
that you stick in your pockets when you leave.
or Wendy's.
The dry sandwiches.
That's right. The dry, crumby sandwiches in your pockets when you go to play Street Fighter.
Right.
I wonder if Pedro Niall got word of the collection of Aes Sedai and so is sending them there maybe to wipe them out, spy on them, all the above. It's the only reason I can think of why White Cloaks would be going to Saladar.
Any other theories?
Isn't that right in the White Cloak area?
Well, it's on the other
Near,
side.
yeah.
It's on the other side of the river.
And is it the
So-
Aranon, I think?
It's on the other side of the Eldar.
Eldar.
Very, very close.
Yeah, these rhyming names.
Yeah, it's tough. It's on the other side of the Eldar. So
But it's like within the area, isn't
it's
it?
in Altara, but
Isn't
it
that
is
why they
on the
kinda
border of
chose to go
Amadisha.
there? Okay.
So they chose it because of its proximity to Amadisha and the fact that, right, why would anybody think that? And we don't, by the way, he doesn't say he's going there because he thinks there are Aes Sedai there. We got no idea why he's going there. He's just going
Right.
there for some
Right.
reason. This
Only
out
thing
of
I
the
can
way
think of.
town, which is overrun by forest, there's nothing there that
Not
anybody
so
knows of.
overrun anymore.
Well, not now, but we know that a bunch of trees were chopped down. That literally it had become overgrown, and this White Cloak dude was on his way there for some reason.
It
It
sounds
just
like
seems
you
really
have
weird.
a reason. It sounds like you have a reason for him going there.
No, I don't have a reason for him going there. It
Yeah.
makes no sense. There was nothing
doesn't
there
make
up
any sense.
until, 2 weeks ago, according to how old this story is.
Yeah. That's like it was a deserted area. But now everyone's going there. All
Everyone.
roads lead to Saladar.
Right. All of a sudden, this insignificant, out-of-the-way town has Aes Sedai in it and a White Cloak who just accidentally gets sidetracked by the prophet in Gildan
How
instead.
far away from them is it currently?
Well, they're just upriver of it. So remember, Nynaeve, the light bulb goes on in her head after he mentions it.
And my head.
So,
Both of our heads.
okay.
It was
So-
probably over the river and through the woods, literally.
They're upriver. It's just downriver from them, but
Would
it
you say
is...
it's just around the river bend?
I said it's over the
There
river.
is a
and through
bend in the
woods.
river between them and where it is. So
Oh my goodness.
this could be the story of Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer. Pick your.
This
river.
could be the
was
story of
going
a
with
man
Pocahontas.
named Jed, also.
No, it couldn't be because there's no river in that story.
there's a
except
poor
the bubbling
mountaineer.
crude.
You know, he barely kept his
There's a
family
river
fed.
of
There's
oil.
a shortage of food everywhere. So
He barely kept his family alive.
Fed.
That's so-
Fed. You're missing the rhyme.
Well, I mean, isn't that part and parcel?
probably.
Well, no, barely kept his family alive does not have a convenient rhyme.
Well, no, there's no rhyming in that scheme.
Short.
That's a long lost art, anyhow.
And that little line in the lyric there.
Anybody want a peanut?
So they're upriver of Saladar. It's probably about 2 or 3 days on the river, but
as a crow
okay.
flies.
by foot, they're a good long ways away from it.
Okay.
They're well north of it. Galad says he'll find them a ship, so now we've got 2 people looking for ships for them.
The more the merrier.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Nynaeve turns down his offer for an inn and lodging. They return to the menagerie. Ragan mentions there are 15 Shinarans in total. Luca has now hired a contortionist because once again
More the merrier.
we're back in the publicity battles there. Her name is Mulin. And then Nynaeve tells Elaine of her adventure and the Aes Sedai's location. So she's finally figured that out.
Mulin, which rhymes with Sulin.
They arrive at the spot for Birgitta and Nynaeve's act.
Wait
Nynaeve-
a second. So we're not going to go over the fact that Galad is just saying to these dudes that if anything happens to the ladies, he's going to just hunt them down.
Do you doubt it?
I don't doubt it.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it. I also felt pretty bad for these two when they were like, "Hey, look, we're gonna have our hands on our sword against Galad," and it's like, "No, guys,
He's like poo poo. He brushes
Don't
the sword
even.
aside with his hand.
don't even try this."
He's like,
Well,
you,
they're-
you
yeah.
faze me not.
I mean, they don't know him, so they
They're
have no
fighting men. They have no idea. They
Right.
have no idea. What
no,
they
and
would be up
they're
against.
pretty good warriors in their own right too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
They're just not
But-
him.
no, they're not him.
keep in mind, all we know about him up to this point is everybody thinks he's an amazing swordsman, and we've seen him do amazing things in practice. And then Nynaeve stands in terror as Birgitta shoots arrows around her. And that leads us into chapter 41, the craft of Kin Tovir.
Yeah, but we come up with the fact that Birgitta likes rough men when she sees
Ugly rough men.
Okay. Any other of these little clever observations that you would like to throw in? Nope. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
who is this addition to the show that they have now?
Mulin, the contortionist.
I find that suspect. I don't
Yeah?
trust this person.
You don't trust contortionists? You don't trust anybody that can twist into shapes the human body shouldn't twist into?
I just think it's kind of strange that he picked up someone else from another troop.
What do you have against yoga, really, Adam? Is it the Eastern mysticism aspect of it? What is it
Well, I
about
was
contortion?
raised I find it very interesting that they're just pointing out the fact that there's this other character that has come from another troop.
Well, I mean,
It seems like a spy.
imitation is the best form of flattery, whatever that expression is.
You think we're about to get into the cola wars here? Is that it?
I think Val Luca's a
do.
pretty smart entrepreneur, and he sees
So it
something
is
that
an
works.
episode of Mad Men. That's what you're saying.
I don't know, since I've
I
never
don't
seen an
know.
episode of that, but I just know that he knows what works, and if that's going to work, he sure as heck is going to do it.
Sure. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm just saying keep an eye on this person, on this lady.
Oh, so you're literally suspect of this woman.
You think she's a spy? Yeah, you think she's trying to steal industrial secrets
being presented to us.
She's Fickelgruber.
Right, yeah.
Prodnose.
So keep an eye. That's it.
Prodnose or Snodnose?
It's Prodnose, Fickelgruber, and the other one whose name I can't remember, who's the most important one of all those three. Slugsworth.
Slugsworth. Yeah, but now Nynaeve has to be concerned about 15 other men that are going to be coming around and all the amount of meat and money that's going to cost.
Yes.
Because they're going to want beef and beans. Because that's all the men eat.
Beef and beans, baby.
Chapter 41, The Craft of Kin Tovir. So Rand talks to the High Lord Wyramon, who is making a nuisance of his ignorant self
He's
at this
oily.
point. Well, he's braggadocious, and he apparently doesn't have much of an understanding of warcraft whatsoever, at least the more subtle versions of it. His only idea is the sledgehammer.
You know who I picture him as? I picture him as...
John Candy?
No, I'm going to reference another great fantasy series. I'm going to reference the C.S. Lewis series. So I picture him in The Horse and His Boy...
oh wow! Okay,
Tarkan, I think it's the general with the oily beard and his son. That's who I picture this guy.
He's definitely a type, right? Like there is this type of military figure that gets used very often in these types of stories. Who thinks that that just a ramrod is the easiest way to win any interaction. And Rand is getting sick of it and trying to figure out ways to get rid of this guy. Wyramon has told Rand about Ilianer pirate raids along the Tyrant coast. So apparently there's an uptick of turmoil outside of Tyr, on the coast of Tyr. Rand has asked Egwene, and after 3 days, she has agreed to use her power as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant development.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, he asks her because she knows that she hasn't taken the 3 oaths, but ostensibly she's going to someday. This is a big ask, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's asking her to behave unethically.
Yeah, because she's trying to be that without being that yet. And not only that, okay, so let's think about this. If she does that, aren't the other women going to be like, hey, but you can't use that as a weapon, and you're an Aes Sedai. How are you breaking your 3 oaths?
You mean the other
wise ones?
Wise ones? Oh, you're right, because she's posing as an Aes Sedai.
Right.
I didn't even thought of that.
I thought of it just now.
That should be a dead giveaway that she's not Aes Sedai.
That's a very good point.
Maybe there are some of them there.
No, there definitely are.
I don't know how much they know about Aes Sedai, but I would think they would know that.
I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation to have.
Maybe this is a plot hole with Jordan that he somehow didn't think about.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we haven't seen anything happen yet. I think it's reasonable to believe that the Aiel would understand that Aes Sedai cannot use the one power as a weapon against when their life isn't in danger. So that would
they're
be
only supposed to use it
revealing
against. They're only supposed to use it against, and they suck about that. Enemies of the Shadow.
Right.
So unless they're convinced that the Shido are enemies of the Shadow, well, we know one of them was in league with one of the enemies of the Shadow. We find that out, but he's
not there anymore.
But he may not be. Who?
Asmodean. Asmodean was the Shadow member that was in league, but Asmodean is now in Rand's camp.
Well, I thought you meant he's not there and he went somewhere else. I'm like, where did he go?
No.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Moiraine isn't aware of Rand asking Egwene this, is she?
I don't know.
I mean, she's right there.
Man, it seems like that was addressed. I don't recall whether or not she's aware. I think it was mentioned.
I just know that she's there when this conversation is taking place, so...
Right,
it'd be weird for her not to say anything. Whatever. It's
another one of the challenges that Egwene has to consider before agreeing to do this, which she ultimately does. But it's a big deal. It's a really huge ask, and I don't get the sense that Rand quite understands the position that he's putting her in, and he's doing more and more things where, because he can see the need for it, he's not really engaged in the subtleties or some of the niceties. He's constantly justifying need as a reason to kind of put people in these situations.
Well, he has stated many times that he will use people as he needs to.
Right.
True.
And he is.
Yep.
Yep.
But this
continues to happen.
This really struck me as a really big deal.
It's a bit beyond the pale, yeah.
We finally learn what the craft of Kintovir is.
Pretty
so he's
cool.
a lens maker.
So do you
Pretty
think that's
cool.
all he did? Is he just a lens maker, or was he doing other things and he happened to do this for Rand? Because these are pretty large things. Why would he be making this otherwise?
No, I think that's his craft. That is what he does. Is I think he's a lens maker.
So do we think he also then made these at Rand's request, or he just happened to have these giant?
No. I think it's pretty clear that he made them at Rand's request. That this was Rand's idea, and
I mean, kudos for coming up with that idea.
To his specs, yeah. And it takes a very good craftsman to be able to do something on this big a scale and still make it work, which is why they're up there on those towers to determine whether or not it actually works, and lo and behold, it does.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Wyraman is like, we don't need this sort of intelligence. I'm just going to ride 3 men up there and kill these 3,000 Shaido.
Optics. We don't need no stinking optics.
He uses the scope to check out what's going on, and he catches a glimpse of Couladin.
Right,
Yeah.
he sees Couladin, and we learn it was Asmodean who gave Couladin the dragon tattoos, as David just referenced a couple of seconds ago. So we actually get confirmation of that for the first time. We've been wondering for a while, and
How that appeared.
I think when we first discussed the tattoos, we suspected that there was some sort of foul play involved.
I'm still even more curious, though, what he did.
How he did it,
What
right.
particular he did.
Right.
Well, Asmodean could have had a sweet tattoo shop that he could have made some.
He
sweet
very well-
coin
Right.
at.
Well, and this is does it wash off at night? Does he
No,
have to
that thing
reapply
is-
them every morning?
Are they like sleeves he just pulls on?
Right. Yeah,
They
exactly.
stretch on his arms.
How do they get there? Is it just a holographic image?
Yeah.
It's like those Avril Lavigne sock sleeves.
How exactly are they on
Or
there?
they're like compression sleeves.
Can they come off? Is there something that can happen where they come off? Like if Asmodean dies, do they disappear?
Well, that's what I wonder.
I would
Are they?
imagine it's
They
like
must be
I would
power
imagine
wrought.
It's just like a tattoo, and he just gave it to the guy.
But
But they're gleaming.
they're magical in some way.
So maybe they're a weave that's tied off
They're
or something.
gleaming.
If the weave is tied off, do we still know when the person dies? Doesn't it still
Well, not
disappear
only that,
with them?
wouldn't Rand have been able to sense that weave around them though if it was actually power wrought? Unless Asmodean inverted the weave, which we've talked about inverted weaves that you can't detect.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Maybe an inversion of the weave.
or
was
maybe he
involved.
really does just have that sweet tattoo shop.
Right.
When
Asmodean.
we're
It's in the back of one of
In
those
addition to
wagons
being a
somewhere.
musician,
My
he's an
question
amazing
is,
tattoo
how often were
artist.
Couladin and Asmodean hanging out?
We got reference to the
Apparently
fact that
enough.
they were hanging out because remember, Asmodean had left the camp that Rand was in and was entertaining the Shaido while they were approaching the Golden Bowl.
Yeah, no, but that was after.
So you think this is a tattoo? You think he needed several days, several sessions of this in order to get that on his arm?
Clink,
And
clink,
No.
clink, clink.
My question is, this was after Rand met Couladin. Do you think that Asmodean met Couladin after Rand met Couladin? I feel like that's how it takes place, right?
Oh, I'm fairly certain he met Couladin after Rand met Couladin. And then he just started
Right.
manipulating the
Yeah.
plans accordingly.
yes.
That's pretty fast. So is Couladin necessarily a dark friend?
That's a good question. I was wondering that myself.
Does it
Maybe-
matter?
Or
may-
just a fool,
well,
is
it's
he
just a
fool
point of-
greedy for power. Which
I mean,
many dark
let's say this
friends
much.
are.
If it is power wrought and that was put on him, you'd have to be awfully suspicious about some man who seems perfectly sane, who isn't going insane, who can use the power on you with no repercussions to himself.
Don't we know that a Forsaken is in power in Ilion? Up to this point, he's acting like a dark friend. He may not be. I don't know.
He may be like what's her face,
it's
Elida.
right.
That,
I don't know that it's material yet. I mean, he's causing the type of problems that a dark friend would have, whether or not it actually is part of the Dark Lord's plan. I think we have yet to see.
Sure, I know, because we were asking this question before, and now we have evidence of the fact that it was Asmodean that put these quote-unquote tattoos on him. So
it's fascinating. I don't know. There's a lot of mystery still there. I'm glad we got something revealed, but it's like the something that we got revealed just makes us ask more questions.
It does raise a question of who's using who here, though, because if he's not a dark friend, then he's getting used by Lanfear and Asmodean.
Yep.
Or at least was. So what was their
well,
plan?
I think further used. He would have done what he wanted to do anyhow. He would have tried to have done.
He would have had a lot bigger problem doing it without the tattoos.
Absolutely, but he still would have tried.
So they enable him to garner a lot of power, and Lanfear must still have some design here, because the two of them haven't, because ostensibly Asmodean could reverse that, right? He could take those tattoos, right? Well, maybe not now anymore, that he doesn't have any power, but Lanfear could, if she was involved in this plot. Because
it depends on who. I don't think she can undo.
Didn't you think that
leave.
Lanfear would only be doing that in order to push Rand into action?
That didn't
maybe
seem
that's
like
it. Maybe they wanted to
she's pushing Rand for the glory, Rand.
Maybe they wanted to push Rand back over onto the other side of the Dragon Wall.
I have no idea.
I don't know about Asmodean. I just know that Lanfear's actions have been pretty evident, pretty obvious in what she wants to do with Rand.
I don't know that we know what side she's on with Rand. I mean, I think we would all agree that we believe she's on Rand's side, but at the same time, she's doing other stuff too.
She's on Rand's side in as much as he's not
the other
crossing
Forsaken as well. All right, chapter 42, Before the Arrow. Our estimates of the size of the Shaido have fallen short of the 160,000 they number.
That's a lot.
We were guessing 2,000 or 3,000. We were guessing 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
Now,
just a bit outside.
They have garnered from the flight of the Aiel from the other clans. What do they call that? The
loss.
I think we were talking about Aiel in general, weren't we?
The bleakness is the term that the Aiel use for when somebody wanders away.
The bleakness.
We were trying to figure out the number of the Shaido.
On top of that, we were trying to figure out the number of the Aiel that there would be in general.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, apparently Rand's got more Aiel than this 160,000.
Well, he has about 320,000 plus.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot.
There were a lot of Shaido. There are a lot of Aiel. There are a lot more than we thought there were.
Yeah.
Many
a lot.
The nation should be worried about that coming over the Dragon Wall.
The other clans have crossed the Jangai Pass, so now we have the Shiande, the Kodara, the Darain, the Myagoma.
The Arrow.
This fight against Couladin is going to be the largest battle since Arthur Hawkwing's era. It's going to be like 320,000 against 160,000 plus the other two that are just lingering out there that Rand isn't sure who they're going to fight with. This is a huge battle that we are probably a chapter or two away from, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Or 3 books.
Right. Let's hope not.
So Lan asks Natail what he thinks of the battle, and Matt huffs. Lan asks Matt what he doesn't like, and then Matt lays out an entire battle plan in front of him to flush the Aiel north and then east.
Well, we didn't really even get into why Matt's there. Matt is there because he's all of a sudden decided he's had enough and he's going to leave.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's important. So Matt's
gone back into sulky mode. Rand, he always gets me into trouble. It has nothing to do with me. Rand. I can't stand to be around Rand. I'm petulant.
He's not feeling the Taviran pull any longer.
He didn't do that because he felt it. He did it because it made him do that.
Right, exactly. And now he doesn't feel that any longer, so he's free to leave. And he's not interested in
I'm
this
still curious to see how well
that's
going to work out for him.
So he's ready to go. He's ready to leave behind Melindra also.
Right.
Yeah, that's a question for me.
I don't see that going well either.
Do you think she's going to die?
Before or after Matt leaves?
Right. Like, is she going to die in a fight with Matt because she's going to try to kill him for leaving?
Do I think she's going to die?
Before Matt leaves. Yeah.
No, I don't think she's going to die before Matt leaves.
Oh, okay.
I think that her being alive is going to be a problem for Matt.
Right, because I could see her trying to kill him for Matt trying to leave.
Right, sure. Her dying before Matt leaves would be a huge convenience for Matt and this story. Out really well for Matt. Way more interesting if she stays alive and he tries to leave this Aiel woman and she's not having it, because we know in Aiel culture, it's the women who seem to make most of the relationship decisions.
She set her sights on him for sure.
But she's not the daughter of the 9 moons.
No, she is not.
So-
or is she?
That's
I don't
his
know.
problem, not hers.
Well, that's a lot of her problem.
Well,
Why?
from our speculation, I don't think she can be because we've heard the Court of the Nine Moons
Right, we
mentioned,
don't- we
which is
don't-
in Shan-Chan.
I don't think any of us think that she's the daughter of the Nine Moons.
No.
yeah, it's her problem because she clearly wants to be with Matrim, and
She's the one
She ain't
who
the one.
wants to.
I mean,
be
I don't
with you.
know that she's demonstrated any extremely long-term interest in Matt, but I also know that we haven't gotten any indication that she's ready for the relationship to be over just yet.
She's still down with the dink and
Right.
the dunk.
So that would seem to be a problem for Matt at this point.
Hats off. Hats off.
Thank you.
I'm taking my. I'm
Tip of the
I'm
cap to
doffing
you
my
as
cap
well.
at you.
So then, Lan asks Natail what he thinks of the battle plan, and Matt huffs. Lan asks Matt why he doesn't like it, and Matt lays out this whole battle plan to flush the Aiel north and then east. After describing his plan, Natail stares at him.
Yeah, like,
Natail
who
does, yeah.
are you really?
And he turns to leave, and Rand has entered the tent.
Rand has
Or
entered the
Rand
building.
has been standing there the entire
For a
time.
bit of time, he has.
So then Matt sputters out his plan to leave to Rand. Rand tells Matt he's always been free to leave. Matt leaves Rand's tent to the tune of Jack of the Shadows.
That's great.
Rand has confirmed his suspicions that Matt has a general's knowledge, and that's one of the things he gained from their voyage into Roydian. Lan bows to Rand for the first time on his way to bring the other parties in, who are Derek, Rourke, Braun, Jiren, and
Derek.
Wyraman.
Derek.
And
Derek Zoolander?
they discuss their battle plans, which are pretty similar to those that Matt laid out.
Yeah.
And that wraps up chapter 42.
Yeah. Adam has more to say.
Adam, it's a pretty sounding sentence. He says, "Play something to make your soul weep if you
still
have
have
one still."
I love how he says that, but he says that like in front of everybody. Like he's trying to keep this guy secret, but he's saying stuff like that that's kind of like.
Rand says that to Natail, or does Matt say
No,
that?
Rand says that.
Rand says that to Natail.
Well, all these other people around.
Aren't they all gone at that point?
No.
No, they're all inside there.
They're all
playing
there.
This behind. He's playing this with all the other war
He's not being very subtle.
Yeah, he's got a really weird relationship with this bard of his. If you're in that room, you're like...
But yeah, Matt's wondering why the heck he's around.
I think he actually says it before the other chiefs come in.
I think so.
But I think
But
Matt
he's
is still there
playing
and
it when
Lan
the
is still
chiefs come
there.
in, and the chiefs are hearing it, and they're like, "Ah."
Yeah, I don't like this music. They're all
But-
staring at him.
And then tears are a luxury that he can no longer afford.
It's true.
The end. Period.
He's becoming a brittle piece of iron.
So Adam, what
Hey.
shook your willow?
Mine is
It's
that-
dunk to you.
It's dunk to you. Mine is Nynaeve says to Elaine she knows she's been a fool and she should not be allowed outside anymore without a keeper. I feel like Nynaeve is losing it a little bit here.
Think she's losing her
She doesn't-
marbles?
She's losing her marbles. She doesn't know what's going on. She keeps making these decisions one after another that seem to be putting her in peril, and yet she keeps doing it.
A little of the peril?
Should we be concerned about her? Is she losing her mind like Rand is losing his mind? I mean, it's not really comparable because Rand has the power, but so does Nynaeve.
So lay out your facts here. What
She's
are
losing her.
what are your
losing her
facts that
faculties.
would that are demonstrating her loss of her faculties? here?
Well, first of all, she's talking to Elaine about it and saying that she shouldn't be allowed outside without a keeper
Elaine,
because she
okay.
keeps getting in. Yeah, because she keeps getting into trouble.
Wasn't this after Elaine had
went
kind
out-
of used the Egwene tactic on her?
No, she had just-
get quiet and
Stare
and
at you
stare
And
tactic.
say nothing with the all-knowing eye.
I think this is because first of all, she feels guilty about her issue with Brigitte, what she did to her, and then Brigitte is saying that maybe she's gonna try, the arrow thing blindfolded. She feels the pressure about that, and then she went into town, and she goes into
Samara.
She was the one that went into town. She's the one that brought Galad upon them, made Galad aware of the fact that they were there. So now that's on top of her. And then she was also the one that just went storming in to talk to Masema.
She is under way more duress than we've seen her, I think, at any point in this story. And most of it is because of her relationship with Brigitte. and the guilt
But it was
that
before
she
that.
feels.
It was what brought Brigitte into this whole mess to begin with. Was her, even
that
though
would have been
Brigitte
good
will
for you to
argue
bring up
against.
before I brought this up. Then
I don't know that she's
What if-
going
well, I
one
don't
flew over the
understand what you
cuckoo's
mean by
nest.
that.
I feel like she's just making bad decisions, but her bad decisions are wrought on by the fact that she's just not thinking clearly. But then again, at the same time, she is. I mean,
She keeps
dumb is
making
going
bad
to see
decision
dumb
after
dumb
bad
is
decision.
dumb is going to see Masema is. It still isn't dumb. She got two people looking for boats for her, and she came away with it, not giving really anything up for it. The downside to that, obviously, now is Galad is aware that they're there, but I have this sneaking suspicion he would have found them anyhow because he's been snooping about.
Maybe, but she was also the one that went ahead and she sicked Brigitte on trying to go find Mogadine, and she was just
Oh,
hell-bent
you're taking
on
away you're
finding-
taking away Brigitte's power there, Adam.
so
I realized that. That's what I was.
Right.
That's why I was
yes,
cautioning myself saying that. But this
No,
is how
she's
she
definitely
is feeling. She's losing control.
So is it? So do you feel like she's losing control, or do you feel like it's just her judgment is becoming questionable?
I honestly feel like she's getting broken down, and hopefully she'll become a better person out of this. But her judgment has become questionable. It's all worked out.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't. Not
So
for
far.
Brigitte, it hasn't. You're right. That decision definitely did not work out that great for Brigitte. The other thing is that she's constantly getting upset at other people for making rash decisions, and yet she makes them all the time. I think that that's been part of her character all along. So I don't know that those rash decisions that she makes for everyone else are anything new, but I do think the duress of the guilt that she feels over Brigitte's situation is something new. We haven't seen her feel guilty about something she's done in the past, have we? Have we
Not to
ever
this
seen her feel remorse for one of her? We've seen her
That
feel
started
mild,
before.
right? We've seen her feel mild amounts of regrets before.
I think it all started with Egwene.
Or right around there, for sure. She's apologized in this book. I think we noted for the first time.
That is true. I think that's where it started around, Dave, was Egwene and her getting browbeaten by her in the dream world.
So what is your concern for her moving forward then?
I think it's good for her to learn from these things and grow from it. But this has been a series of pretty poor decisions, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah. You're
And
hoping
she's
she
gotten
gets
to the
out of
point
her
where
funk.
She's saying she has to be locked up. It could be the fact that she just continues on this pattern, and then it just is ruined for a couple other people.
She's in she's in the
Especially
pits of
now
despair.
she
There
is
you go,
going-
Adam.
Now she's going to this area where the other, where all the blue Aes Sedai are meeting up, and so she's bringing her funk into there.
Well, if there's any place to get that funk defunkified, that would be a good place to go because they won't put up with her nonsense, and they know she's not Aes Sedai, so
But
they
she
can
could be
order her
leading other
around.
people into there.
Wait, what?
You're concerned about
Like,
her leading
you think
Galad
her
back
funk is
there?
spreading?
There. Or, maybe this.
Well, Galad's
mystery
going there
character
anyhow.
That's this mystery character, Molina. What is her name?
Right. The Shea Dancer or whatever she is, yeah.
The contortionist,
Contortionist,
Mulin.
yeah.
Contortionist, Mulin. I'm
So-
just worried about her.
Her bad decision making can still impact the Aes Sedai, whether or not it's due to mopiness or anything else. She could still pull a Pippin and do
Knock
something
the well.
stupid
The thing down the well.
amidst the intelligentsia. All right, so what shook my willow was Julian's high wire act. So all of a sudden now Julian is an actor. He went from not wanting to walk the tightrope to doing this entire drunken act now where he pretends to be intoxicated in
He's
the
Charlie
crowd.
Chaplin.
Yeah, he's a man of
I love
1,000 talents.
Yeah.
It just seems weird to me that just chapters ago he was terrified to do this thing, and now he's got a whole act built around it.
Well, yeah, he's impressive, man.
Well, it
He's a
would make
man of many
sense that-
talents.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah. I mean,
philanderer.
He was running
He's
around on. He was running around on roofs.
True.
I do find it very funny that he's a thief catcher, so he's used to running around on roofs. So it's like all
is
those
he a thief
parkour
taker?
people.
He's not a
It's all
thief
those
catcher. He's a
parkour
thief
people
taker.
out in Italy and Europe that are up in these roofs, and yet he's the one running after him.
Yeah.
He's got an ability with height.
He's the
but he
artful
was scared
dodger,
of it,
Adam.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you think he was more scared of?
he's the
do you think he
fiddler
was-
on the roof.
That guy's not moving around. He's just sitting there.
Right.
He's dancing. He's
rocking
dancing
about.
on the roof. That's the whole metaphor. Anyway, go
You
ahead.
think he's fiddling and dancing?
I don't.
He's
I never
dinking
thought
and
the
dunking
fiddler
on
was
those roofs.
I mean,
I never thought the fiddler was dancing.
The
but
whole beginning
fiddle
montage
music-
of the movie is
fiddle
fiddlers
music
dancing
does make
on the
you want to
roof.
dance. It's true. It makes you want to tap your feet.
Okay.
And yes.
Anyhow, he was someone that was able to deal with heights. He might have just been freaked out about the fact that Elaine was just controlling the entire area around him at the beginning.
I think he was
And
more.
now he has his own freedom.
I think he was more freaked by walking on a rope. I think he's good with heights.
Why?
Yeah,
He
that's
had
a
good with-
reasonable. That's a reasonable assessment to make. It's one thing to be good with heights. It's another thing to be good walking on something that's
Maybe he
an
just
inch or
found
two
he
wide.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
good at it and he can do it.
Fortunately, he's
He
done it within a
clearly
matter
did it.
of days.
Actually, Eric, what it really is it's another reference to Madmen. See, this is another
Okay,
whatever it is
please
that you
make
keep
the
calling
connection
it.
for me.
Whatever it is you keep calling it. The publicity.
Right.
See, he figured out he could
He's
be a great
roping- he's
publicist.
walking that
Publicist.
tightrope
So
of-
What shook your willow, Dave?
mine is a throwback to our days of yore when we first started this podcast and we would play the game of who wore it better. And I'm referencing.
I miss those days.
Yeah, I am referencing. I don't have a neat little limerick that Eric would come up with.
I wish we did.
Yeah,
He came up with good
if I had
limericks.
thought of like this beforehand, I would have.
The pressure
um,
got to him.
Yeah. But the dress. And that's like that TV show, Save the Dress, or Who Wore the Dress, or whatever the heck the TV show is about. So,
I think it is actually called Who Wore It Better.
So this is the dress that both Brigitte wanted and Nynaeve did not want, and they're
Gets
both
a lot
wearing
of
it.
mention.
A lot of mention and how low cut this dress is. And
It's square.
Nynaeve's about to pop out of it at any given moment, which she does not like. Brigitte sure as heck does. And then they have that whole interesting scene where she's like, well, what if I told you to wear your dress lower? And Nynaeve's like, okay. I don't
1
want
inch
to."
lower, and
Yeah.
then everything would be absurd.
So this dress, like you said, sure did get a lot of mention over these chapters. And it's just kind of this funny thing. And I picture like these two, Brigitte as this tall, statuesque, blonde, she's tall, and Nynaeve's shorter, but
everything
no
about it. I
less
think she's a beauty.
curvy and attractive, I think. And, they're both busting out of this dress, and it's like this weird sort of competition or whatever it is. It was just really funny to me.
It's a major element of chapters 37 and 38.
Well, yeah, because the whole interaction with Masema because of the stupid dress.
Yeah. She's uncomfortable in it and probably can't move very well.
But then she owns it. Then she's like, I'm not going to let this man tell me what to do. I'm dropping the shawl.
Right.
Bada bing, bada boom.
In typical Nynaeve fashion, with the minute that she realizes that something has gotten her out of sorts, she's
Which
not
is
gonna
good.
let
That's a little bit of her
anyone
own
else know.
personality. See, Brigitte should have been there for that moment. She
I
probably
don't
would
know
have
if
cheered.
I see that's another decision from Nynaeve that probably isn't the best decision in terms of Masema.
That may be the case,
We'll
but that's
cover that.
Nynaeve. That's a decision that Nynaeve would have made before she was in her funk.
Oh, definitely.
It's creating interesting scenes. Then Nynaeve sure as heck forgets about it when, the arrows are flying at her.
You'll forget about a
Oh, I
lot when
love
you're
that
being
scene.
shot at.
Yeah.
Let's move on to profit motive here. So it's been a long time since we've run into Masema, and the last time we saw him, he
And I'm
did
kind of
seem to
glad
be
it has
losing it a
been.
little bit. He was starting to talk to himself, and all of the other Shinarans thought that he was acting strangely.
They didn't really like him to begin with.
And we've had his name mentioned and tied to being this prophet before, so this isn't a revelation by any means, but we definitely get some
His insanity
serious
is a
exposure
revelation.
to him. So Nynaeve finds Masema's methods untrustworthy.
I sure would love to have Perrin around with his nose smelling this guy.
To see whether he's sane or not. I mean, aren't we pretty
what
sure
he
that
stinks of.
he's not really sane? What do we think of the way that he's got this entire country, really?
He amassed power really quickly, it seems.
How do we feel, he's doing using it?
Well, it's just like a bludgeon.
Not good. First of all, he's making all these laws that a man who steals will have his hand cut off, which, I mean,
It's
that's,
very Sharia law.
that happens. But mostly, he has come up with this whole idea that Rand is the source of light. That's no good.
Well, we'll get there. Let's stay on topic here and stick with, what he's doing with his power. So the first scene that
So he's killing a lot of queens.
Yeah, there's a question as to how much he has to do with the disappearance of all these Gildan and queens. The most
There's not a
recent.
question about it. It's why why Alejandra was bringing Julia in, because she was the fourth one to sit on the throne And there were 3 others that were killed before her. So it's not a question of if he did it. He definitely did it.
Yeah, to keep her head, basically.
He's insulated from some of these actions, right? In the same way that Adon is insulated from some of the actions of some of his wishes being fulfilled. So you're
okay.
Yes, there's constant allusion to don't rile him because his followers are really, really passionate and they're liable to do something. And they allude to the fact that they don't do anything that he doesn't wish by any means, but you don't see him give the commands. So I think you're right. I think that these women have disappeared because of his wishes, but no one can put the finger on him. You know, you wouldn't be able to find him guilty in a court of law because the commands are not expressed, is all I'm saying.
It's like the Don is a good analogy for that. He's giving the orders, but he's not the one actually doing it, but no one actually hears him give the orders. So
he's a couple degrees removed.
No, I know that there were examples that Uno brought up that a woman's head was cut off for naming the dragon and she was dragged behind horses. But I thought that specifics were brought up that the Queen of Gildan was specifically, the other ones were killed by him.
No,
I think it might have been alluded to.
It's his followers. Yeah. It's his followers. Yeah. And they all die, by the way, in mysterious circumstances. So how they died is even a mystery.
It wasn't good.
But it's brought up that Uno says she's smart for not wearing this stuff when she comes to him specifically because he's going to demand more from her then.
Yeah.
So this is Alejandra that we're referencing, and this is the meeting that Nynaeve oversees where he demands, where he just flat out demands all of the gold that she's wearing. So he's doing this Robin Hood act in this town.
But crazy Robin Hood.
Well, right, because at the same time, like robbing the rich, you know, to give to the poor, great. But
is he really giving it to the poor?
He is.
There's evidence that he is
he's feeding
he's feeding a bunch of people. But at the same time, he's got, you know, like much like the Shan Chan did, he has the entire country living in fear too.
Those people sure don't seem to be taking care of themselves either.
There are a couple of things going on there. They might be as feral as he is, and then also he doesn't value possessions, and theoretically they're not supposed to either. So you've got those two things acting to create sort of this rabble.
And they're roused.
Where do you think this came from within him?
The insanity?
Just a true believer nonsense. I remember, was that the end of book 1?
No, 2. Book 1 ends with the Eye of the World. Remember that Masema was one of his greatest skeptics when they were chasing the horn. Masema was the guy who was
and then he saw him do it again in 2.
Yeah, so it's book 2. So that's where it comes from.
We get witness to his fervor at the beginning of book 3. Like I said, the Dragon Reborn is when we actually see witness to the fact that he's acting oddly.
But do you think that's because he was someone that was... the fact that they were on the borderlands and they were fighting everything off.
He was a man who needed a vision, and he found it, and he went all in.
I don't know how many other stories this is part of, but there are definite similarities here to Saul of Tarsus and Paul in the fact that you have somebody initially who is antagonistic. Masema was one of the people that didn't get along with Rand at all, and then he has this amazing encounter. And then he ends up becoming a passionate follower. I mean, those are some pretty broad strokes.
Yeah.
This is just...
I think that the archetype of the prophet is one that is in a lot of different stories. This is just Jordan's unique take on it here. I mean, if you want like a psychological breakdown of Masema, we don't really know that much of him prior to...
No, we don't.
Prior to this, other than the fact that he scowls at Rand constantly as they're going out to chase the horn. If you remember, they all seemed a bit gruff, but Uno and Masema were the two that Rand was least certain of as far as getting along with goes. Then, you know, toward the end of that story, that bond tightens.
It's weird.
It's crazy to me.
Literally
in terms of the storytelling, it's just nuts that this guy has found this big of a following.
Yeah, I mean,
but it does make sense. It does happen.
Yeah.
So to your point, the queens of Gildan, we've had Elazel who poisoned herself. after her army lost a major battle with Masema's crowd. Then there was Teresia, who abdicated to marry Baron Joriad, a rich merchant, after another military defeat at Masema's crowd at Johanna. And that's how we get to Alejandra.
These are the names I can't remember.
What do we think of the way that Moiraine treated these men? Because they're here and sort of tied together because of where she left them. Because if it hadn't been for her, they probably would still be with Rand, right? I mean, they would have followed him to Tyr, and ostensibly he could have done something with them at that point. He might have used them as part of the Tyrant mission to Cairhien. So maybe they're in Cairhien instead. It seems like Masema was on his road to becoming whatever he was going to become in some way, shape, or form, but it might not have been here in Gildan. It could have been in Tyr.
Well, the Aiel would have killed him.
No, because he would have been with Rand.
Yeah, but he hates the Aiel.
Well,
I don't see them putting up with him for very long.
Essentially, one of two things would have happened. Either Rand would have left them outside the stone, or they would have stormed the stone with him. It's more likely he probably would have stormed the stone on his own, so they wouldn't have been there when the Aiel attacked.
Yeah.
And then they would have come in, they would have run into the Aiel after Rand had already established his position. My greater concern would have been he would have been out in that civil war between the Cairhien Civil War and all of that madness and caused trouble there instead, which actually probably would have been worse for Rand. But that being said, they're where they're at because of Moiraine's choice and how she just kind of sent those guys off into the wilderness.
Well, she sent them for a purpose, and then the purpose literally died.
The person they were to meet up with died, but she sent them off to Jahara to take care of some stuff even before they returned to meet up with her confidant. So she had a mission for them prior to their actually meeting with her. Let's say it was a member of her eyes and ears.
She had some reason. I don't know what that reason was. I don't know that we know what the reason was, but she's not the type of person to send people off willy-nilly.
No, I think there was a definite purpose there. My question is, what is it, and what do we think of her choice there?
I don't know, because we don't know what the purpose was.
It doesn't get described, right? No. Jordan just kind of leaves it incredibly vague.
Yeah.
It just seems weird to me. It almost just feels like an empty plot device to get Masema in Gildan.
Yeah. There's no way to know why he would have ended up there, and how he would have gotten there. And
well, it's just there's no information on what Moiraine wants them to do. Yeah. She just sends them off and says, "You'll go here. I need you to do this, and then you'll meet up with my go-between here."
You skipped over the fact that I brought it up before, that now he believes that Rand is the source of the light.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were
yeah. He thinks Rand is like the creator now.
Well, he definitely thinks Rand is some sort of god or demigod.
And there's no way that the light saved through the Lord Dragon.
This is his insanity, is we've gotten absolutely no reference at all to Aes Sedai, which is essentially what Rand is, being gods. You could make the argument that the Forsaken are demigods. They do seem to be immortal.
No, they die.
But they don't die of natural causes. They can die in battle, yes.
I have a feeling if they got stabbed in the neck with a knife, they would die.
Right, they can die in battle. They can die of mortal wounds, but they don't die of natural causes. They don't die of age. They're ageless.
Right, yeah, okay.
Think about it. They've been alive for thousands of years.
Well,
they've been trapped in a prison.
So they were in like a stasis holding pattern.
Right.
But not all of them, apparently, because Ashamiel was out.
There you go, yeah. So he's creating his whole...
They're vampires.
His own myth. There's no indication of any of this, and he's just fabricating this all out of his own obsession.
Yeah, he's creating his own reality.
That's no good.
No, he's
I think it's great. I think it's great because now he's
L. Ron Hubbard.
But you have people that are supporting, quote unquote, Rand, and he has a big following behind him.
Does he? You mean the Aiel? Okay, all right.
And Tyr.
No, not Rand. I'm saying
Masema.
You said Rand. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's supporting Rand, and he has this big following behind him to support Rand. But I think someone that makes a statement like Rand is the way to the center of the universe, essentially, that I don't trust him.
No,
I feel like
Do we really think these people are supporting Rand and he's supporting Rand, or are they just
No,
supporting
I think
his
he's
insanity?
supporting himself. I think he's supporting himself, and that if he had the opportunity to kill Rand and become Rand, he would do it.
I don't know that he's sane enough to see that.
I don't think he's sane enough to see it. I think that there's a possibility that he could be deluded.
You really think he's insane?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
get that
I
sense.
think he's lost objectivity.
I wonder, though, if Rand did something against what his view of what Rand is supposed to be, would he then turn on him?
Yes, that's where I would
definitely turn on him.
That's where I see the danger being, because he has fabricated an idea of Rand in his head
that Rand can't live up to.
Definitely not, because he's not the source of light.
Right, because he's created this entire mythology. It's not founded in anything other than his own ideology.
This is just a powder keg. This is a bad situation.
It's a big problem, and it's already a big problem for these three nations, Amadisha.
This guy needs to be bumped off.
Well, these two nations, Amadisha and Gildan, at the very least.
Well, if he gets bumped off, someone else that is following him will just come right back up.
Not necessarily. You have to have the same sort of
charisma
and or insanity to be able to sway people.
His charisma is interesting.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have many examples of it. All we have is whatever he was to begin with, and then now him saying, "Hey, you shouldn't be wearing those dresses. They're just worn to entice women." So this guy's a goof.
I mean, we have our own human understanding and our own histories of strange, unwashed people still gathering a bunch of lunatics behind them. Human history is filled with these types of characters.
Oh, definitely. It's great.
Despots.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's such a good character to have here.
It doesn't make any sense to many of us, but it can definitely happen.
I think it's funny that he plucked him from the beginning of the books.
Yeah. Jordan does that. It's the what's its face effect.
It's the Bail Doman effect.
Yeah.
Bail Doman, where are you, man? Also Perrin. Yeah.
So take into the Matt. Matt thinks that being Ta'veren has been great for everybody else except for him. He thinks that his wealth has been hard earned. He doesn't realize
gambling is difficult.
The only reason that he can go out and travel the world and do the things he wants to do is because he's Ta'veren. He's like many the wealthy soul who has inherited money but thinks that they earned their money through hard work, not through privilege. He's definitely privileged.
I don't know
to be
that he's.
Who would you be speaking of?
I don't know that he's actually inherited any wealth.
No, he hasn't. He's inherited being Ta'veren. He's Ta'veren through nothing of his own doing.
But he was good at gambling before it really kind of took its. The question is when did
we know that he has a huge amount of wealth that he's lost. That was all through rolling dice perfectly for an entire night.
Right.
That's inhuman.
With these guys being Ta'veren, did that spring up in instances when they were younger?
I doubt it. I don't think that.
I've been asking this for a while.
You have raised this a couple of times, and I think what you raised was like when were the first moments where Rand demonstrated the ability to tap into the power, and
we have no evidence.
It sure seems that what Jordan is demonstrating is that being Ta'veren and these sorts of things seem to come along with sexual maturity. That women demonstrate the ability to use the power around the same time that girls hit puberty, and that boys also demonstrate the ability to use the power around later than girls and around the time that boys hit puberty. I mean, so relatively speaking, that much we know, and we know that also ties in with the power. And it just seems to me that Jordan wouldn't be leaving these moments out for us, that he would include them in the narrative and that we've seen them. They're not out there in some mysterious book that wasn't written, or that we're going to get some flashback to their childhood at some point in the future where we see this happen.
I don't know. Matt was unlucky enough to get caught doing foolish things back in Emonds Field and getting punished for it. So
quite often, it seems.
Right. He wasn't getting away with, anything
he wasn't just
more than he should have. Matt seems to think Moiraine is having her way with Rand after a period where he thought Rand was resisting her influence.
I think we should be worried.
How much of that do we believe coming from Matt? I don't know.
I
think
believe
honestly,
a bit of it coming from Matt, especially what takes place after that, because he's a battle lord.
Well, okay, those are not necessarily congruous to each other.
They are, in terms of the fact that he understands people taking control of a situation.
I still don't see the.
He's saying that Matt seems to demonstrate an uncanny ability to understand manipulation and political intrigue because of his understanding of.
So you're saying because he can do it, he can see it in other
battle.
people? I don't necessarily think those necessarily have to go with each other either.
I don't necessarily think they do either. I do think that it is possible that there could be a certain amount of bias here, but he does clearly identify that there was a time when Rand gained control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be understanding what he seems to be seeing, though, and I think you're right about this, Adam, is he seems to be understanding what Moiraine is doing. He seems to be understanding.
Specifically brought this up before, is that she understood that I need to let go of this leash.
Right.
In order to still keep control of the influence that I can have.
I think that's what Matt sees.
And that, right, yes, I would agree. I think Matt has identified that. So we're not, he's not, I don't think he's witnessing that she's resuming her former tactics of relating to Rand. He's just gained an understanding and he's seeing that she's still having influence over him.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
He needs somebody because he's turning into something strange.
He would tell you he's turning into what he has to. And he would probably also tell you he doesn't like what he has to become or what he thinks he has to become.
Quite possible.
Matt remarks that Egwene has left Emonds Field farther behind than any of them and regrets it less. How far has Matt drifted from his friends?
Oh, good grief.
It's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black for sure, because he doesn't seem to want to go back there at all, and he doesn't seem to hold any of the same values that the Emonds Fielders hold. So
yeah, but Egwene is who
at least Egwene's doing it for a purpose, and her purpose is not selfish. Matt's entirely is.
That's
now
fair.
He gets forced into situations where he has to become unselfish, and that is a part of him. So he'll complain about it, but he'll still do it. Mm-hmm. So that is to his credit. But she's doing it for the exact opposite reasons that he's doing it.
Matt has no one in the Two Rivers anymore that he's close to, and Egwene does.
Her parents?
Nynaeve, even though she's browbeating her, they're still close.
Well, Nynaeve's not in the Two Rivers.
Yeah, but they're still meeting in the dream world.
So you think Nynaeve and Egwene are still close?
Yes.
Huh. I don't think they are. I think they're growing apart.
I think they're fighting it, but I think they still are.
I would agree that I think that part of the reason for the discomfort of Nynaeve with the relationship is the fact that they are still close. Because if she didn't really care that much about her, then it's easier to let go.
You can become more removed and distant from a person and still care about them. It's just proximity. Proximity breeds a lack of familiarity, or lack of proximity breeds, that.
But you're identifying, there's a difference between familiarity and closeness.
If you're talking about caring, I don't think Matt is trying to care about anyone.
Right. Well, he certainly wishes he didn't. He finds
his life would be much easier.
I think he finds himself caring despite his own inclinations. I get where the thought that Egwene is being selfless or is following a more noble cause with the Aes Sedai. I think there are hairs to be parsed.
I mean, I'm sure she has her own motivation too.
Right. But on the whole, Matt does seem to be taking the more selfish route.
Only looking out for himself. He's only concerned about where he's going to go. He's only concerned about getting out of there in order to do
what he wants to
Matt things.
He doesn't want his style cramped.
The only one who still has any real attachment to Emonds Field is there. It's Perrin.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy's doing.
We haven't heard from him in a while.
So let's get Randy and then wrap things up. It seems Avienda is comfortable around Rand and has softened around him a little bit, but Rand is still uncomfortable around her.
They've already had intimate moments.
Right, together. but now she's still doing it and is like, that was the last time. That's not happening again, but I'm still going to get naked in front of you.
Yep.
And also, she's not being as acerbic around him. No. She's a lot more comfortable around him. He's still the same old uncomfortable Rand around her.
He's always going
to feel like she just felt like, oh, I got that over with.
I climbed that hurdle. I'm done.
Well, in a sense, right? Because I mean, she was the one who really had more to lose because she, of her friendship with Elaine. And also we realize her knowledge that she gains from Rydien regarding her relationship with Rand, that we still don't really know what the full extent of that relationship is going to be or what she learned from Rydien.
But yeah, I've liked the development of where her character is going.
Right. She's no longer Nynaeve or Fael, right? She's
what Fael is.
She's not playing little junior high games.
But she had more reason to play those games than anybody else.
Oh, right. But we didn't know that at the time.
No.
All we knew is she was annoying.
Yeah.
Pulling pigtails. Would you want Rand as a boss? Rand's idea of leadership is I do what I have to do. I can't be friends with any of these people because I need to be in charge. And once I become friends with somebody, that compromises my ability to ask them to do things I might not want my friends to do.
As a boss, yeah, actually, I would want.
Well, no. I'm saying, would you want Rand as a boss? Not would you want Rand to be a boss for your employees? Would you want Rand to be a boss of you?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And my main reason is I like things that are very clear cut. I like to know where I stand. I like to know what it is I'm supposed to do. So I like things laid out very clearly. And Rand does that. I mean, like he even tells the Aiel, here's the rules. If you break them, I'm going to kill you. They're still breaking them and they're dying and he's holding to it. So you know what you're going to get with Rand. And to me, that's important. I may not like the severity of what it is, but I sure as heck would know, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to get killed because he's killing those people.
I don't think it's all that clear cut. He tells you what to do. He doesn't tell you why he's telling you to do what to do.
Is that the nature of a boss's job, is to tell you why he's telling you what to do?
Yes. 100%.
Well, that's debatable.
That's
You're asking my
philosophical
opinion, what I would want my boss to be, so I'm giving you my answer.
Right. I would agree. I think, especially these days, more effective leadership revolves around giving your people the reasons as to why to do things so that they can make decisions revolving around that situation other than exactly what you give them.
The whys definitely can be important. For me, I don't get hung up on that. In a work situation, in interpersonal relationships, yes, to me, a why is probably way more important than in a work situation because I want to understand why you're coming from this area.
I wouldn't like Rand as a boss.
I get why Rand is doing what he's doing.
I 100% get why he's doing
I
what
wouldn't.
he's doing.
Yeah, this is not the working environment that I would prefer. I definitely prefer somebody that I can have a good enough relationship with. I'm not talking about hang out continuously after work with, but am comfortable with enough to be able to know when I.
You don't think Rand is approachable?
No, I don't think he feels like he can be.
But yet he seems to always make time to talk to everybody.
What?
What do you mean, what? He's giving us examples upon examples of him talking to people.
Well, but he's giving direction. That's not necessarily being approachable. I mean, it's conversations around what you need to do.
He's not describing to anybody why he's doing what he's doing.
We don't have a lot of examples of people asking either, so there hasn't.
But we
been
get
a
examples
lot
of him jovially interacting with other people, like these other Aiel. He interacts with them at a non-boss level, even though he is their boss. Like the one guy, this guy keeps getting brought up. They hang out at the fires or whatever while they're moving over the dragon wall, and he is the boss and he is in charge, but he's still having that interaction with them where he talks to these people.
That's definitely fair. I mean, I think the meeting that he has with the clan chiefs does not seem like he is just demanding of them, telling them what to do. It seems like they've really reached a battle plan through a collaborative effort. However, Rand is reminding himself constantly, and I feel like we're headed in a direction where he is going to become even more distant from these people.
He's trying to make himself into a piece of iron with no feelings. But
right. And I think it's that ultimate endpoint that he's hoping to get to that
I sure hope he doesn't.
That I wouldn't want to relate to more so than where we're at right now.
No, I wouldn't either. When he gets to that point, I would not want him as a boss.
Adam, who was your Coplin of the week?
Oh, my Coplin of the week was that skinny guy's nose from the first chapter.
Right, of course, yeah.
Right.
No, mine is Masema.
Yeah.
Guy's got a screw loose.
It's got a whole toolbox.
I just appreciated the fact that there was another skinny guy's giant nose that was mentioned. No, mine is Masema, and I'm sure Eric is going to agree with me on this because this is how you roll. But this is chaos. This is absolute nonsense that he is
That's my what's his face chaos theory. My from
Dr. Malcolm, Ian Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm.
Yeah, it's
Jeff
just
Goldblum.
absolute nonsense. He just found this thing to believe in, and he has no idea what it actually means, and yet he's putting people to death, quote unquote, because of his belief system.
Yeah.
And he has all these followers, and even if you are a follower, even if you are a person that is close to Rand or someone that is close to him, he will find a reason in you to make it seem like, oh wait, no, you don't really get what the Dragon Reborn is. I do. I'm going to kill you.
It's not that surprising nobody's bumped him off. I mean, these types of people have a way of maintaining power.
Yeah, they do. But you would think like the queens or someone would be like, let's send in some assassins. Let's get this done.
It's always surprising that people that create that much tension around themselves and rule with that type of a fist are able, but people are just terrified of them.
And they've got eyes watching, I'm sure.
He's got this I'm a good guy attitude, and I'm going to provide with you. And I really don't want to get too political with that, but it's just something you see over and over again. That's like, I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of the people. But nope, you're not.
Well,
I don't even know that
you have this.
Like Rand, he's holding himself at arm's length from his people too.
Yeah.
I would honestly like to know what his idea of the Wheel of Time is.
Rand.
Because it isn't right.
His idea of the Wheel of Time is Rand.
Yeah, so he believes Rand is what? The creator?
Yeah.
He believes Rand is the creator.
He believes Rand, the light comes through Rand.
Yeah, so he has to be the creator.
Yeah, he's creating an entirely new religion.
It's a new religion. It's a bad thing.
He's a bad
It's a good way to make money.
Which is what he's not trying
but
to do.
But he's not trying to make any.
Right.
There we go. Now we're back to Elrond.
He's generating a lot
LRH.
He's generating a lot of money around him for somebody to come in and collect at some point, one would think. Selling trinkets
LRH
of him.
And the Catholic Church.
It's a statue of Masema made out of ivory. Shred-eat tusks.
He would probably kill you if you did that, though.
Well, you're right. You wouldn't want him to know. My Coplin of the week was Rand. I don't like the way he manipulated Matt there in chapter 42. I don't like the machinations that he put into effect to...
Why don't you like it?
If that's your friend, go up and talk to him.
But he knows that, like...
Would Matt talk to him? No.
But he specifically said...
He would deny anything that was going on.
Said, I hope that Matt goes off, lives his life for a while.
He wishes he does wish Matt well, but this is what Rand's becoming.
Right, exactly, and I don't have to like it.
No,
as you have not.
No, that's fine. No, this is interesting to me though, because he thought that he thought, I hope that Matt goes off and lives his life well, like Perrin is living his life well. So he's gotten no word. He's gotten no word back from the Two Rivers.
No, it's a black hole of information. Apparently,
why don't these people? Why do the Dark Powers have all these ravens and rats?
Right, and yet
they got pigeons that apparently don't fly quickly.
For them?
The only people,
the wolves. Don't you think the wolves could have
Well, not just that, Adam.
Rand
can skim. Why hasn't Rand skimmed over there and seen what's going on?
This all does come back to Rand skimming.
Right.
That is the biggest black hole in this whole thing.
It's unfortunate that Jordan has created this power that's caused him all sorts of problems in his storytelling.
The power that's so good that it's not used.
It's the most powerful aspect.
It's too good because it could circumvent half of his story if it was actually used to its fullest extent.
Well, then I guess it just goes to how much does Rand actually care?
That would be a fair argument. The only counter argument to that would be maybe he's worried that if he stepped in there that he would unduly influence what was going on in the area.
I don't know. A lot of people died because they thought he was going to be there.
We had these carrier pigeons before that level.
Right. I mean, the Aes Sedai have figured out how to use carrier pigeons, but apparently the Aiel and Rand have not. It's a technology that has eluded them. So that was my Coplin of the week. Who's your Coplin of the week, Dave? Matt's, okay.
Just like Nynaeve, he was making progress, and now he's reverting back to his selfish ways. And call it Ta'Veren or not, or he was only doing it because he felt, either way, he was becoming someone I liked, and now he's going back to someone that I don't like.
He was forced to become somebody you liked.
And I think that's probably the biggest difficulty with Matt is I keep wanting to like him, because he's showing us these glimmers of true character within himself.
Mm-hmm.
When you're forced to do that, you could still not do it. He could not have gone and rescued the girls. That wasn't Javier pulling, but he did. Yeah. That was loyalty to his friends.
Oh, no, he definitely.
So he keeps showing us these glimmers that just then we get mired back in this. I
mean, do you like Han Solo? He abandons his friends, but then he comes in right at the end to save them.
That's a question I've always wondered. How much do I actually like Han Solo?
Okay, well, I would say you don't.
I don't know.
He's a rogue.
He's a rogue, right? Exactly.
And I don't like anything about his personality, but I like at times what he does.
He's the cool guy.
Is he though?
Yeah, he is absolutely.
He seems to think he is.
Luke is to
Chewie is the cool
Han
guy.
is definitely the cool guy.
Right, Han is the cool guy.
Chewie is his best friend.
That's Chewie is the cool guy, and Han's his best friend. Let's get it right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's funny.
Wookiees first.
But,
Okay, Wookiees first.
I
like that.
Who leveled up? Dave.
Okay. Well, on the converse of who is my Coplin, it's Matt. Matt leveled up.
He's doing it again.
I can't help it.
I said it.
He's busting out these crazy talents for being a master strategist. We've seen it, but now they've seen it. By the way, I got mad skills when it comes to plotting battles that I've seen all 5 seconds.
And I feel like it's a bigger deal that Lan knows of this than even, for some reason, the Aiel.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know why I feel that way. I just do.
Because
do you think it's
Lan is a king, and Lan has
Never
fought many battles. So Lan's going to, and I have a feeling Lan knows some of these other, great generals. So I think he knows a good strategy when he hears it. And when he hears it from a guy who he's got inklings of, but when he really lays it out on the line and he does it all in just a couple minutes when everyone else has been planning this for days, I mean, that's mad skills right there.
Oh, it's insane. He also says things like never kiss a girl whose brothers have knife scars.
Right.
It's wise.
I have a feeling Matt has his own knife scars aplenty.
Well, yeah,
we do. We know he does when he took his shirt off from Melindra.
Who leveled up for me was Julian. He was my Willow and my level up. I love that little performance that he gives. It is
a Charlie Chaplin moment.
I love the drunken way that he stumbles up to the tightrope and wanders back and forth across it with the crowd screaming and cheer and yelling at him. I think it's a great little moment. One of my favorite moments of this book so far. So kudos to you, Julian Sandar. You leveled up for me. How about you, Adam?
So I was torn a bit because I feel like Rand leveled up because he.
Are you trying to get 2 people in again here? You
no,
trying to twofer?
I won't try to twofer.
1 for twofer?
It's funny. It's because Eric talked about Julian, but for me, it's Elaine leveling up this week because she's going up. The daughter heir is going up and not channeling, and she is up there on the high wire act, and she has never done this before, and she's able to do it.
Right, without the power.
Without the power, yeah.
Yeah.
And like she's doing cartwheels, flips, somersaults, pirouettes.
It's a bit exceptional.
She's doing
and she's learned all of that in like what, 3 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive.
According to the Wheel of Time timeline.
Honestly, this is kind of how Robert Jordan presents Elaine, which is unfortunate because all of a sudden she's able to do this stuff, but it's pretty impressive that she was able to just get up there and do that.
You know what? I do like that though, especially in regards to Elaine, because she's not just the pretty figurehead who's useless.
Pretty princess.
Right. She's not just a princess. She can come off princess-y.
She's got layers.
But yeah, she's got depth to her, and she's got untapped skills, and she
doesn't know how to write a letter.
That's why you write 2, Adam.
That's true. Exactly. Cover your bases.
Yeah. She sure gets drunk like a princess, though.
Her ability, right? Yeah, she can hold her wine like a princess.
Yeah, her ability of being able to go out there and do that, and then deal with Elaine or deal with Nynaeve's nonsense and talk her down from it it's really good stuff. The more and more I get from Elaine, I'm just into her.
So is Rand,
and that was not the case at the beginning.
No,
I mean, who would you say, Egwene or Elaine, more instantly likable?
Min. She wasn't my choice. Okay. I'm going with Min.
No. We'll throw Min in there.
Yeah,
no, Min is always an option. Min is the most likable, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
she's the one I'd want to hang out with. She's the one that's around the least, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
she's not around.
She's in Saladar. She's
it's easier
waiting
to be liked when you don't when you're not around.
The majority of what we hear is Rand being like, "Oh, man, I wish Min were around. She's like my sister."
Right,
okay, weirdo.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to recognize the fact that he's going to be in love with 3 different women.
I don't think
I don't think
he's
he has
actually
to deal
aware
with
that he's in love with
right.
one woman.
Right. That may be.
Well, yeah.
That may be.
Hats off if Robert Jordan just presents 3 other women.
Right. These aren't the 3 women.
Right.
Oh my word! Can you imagine?
That wraps up our podcast. Join us when we'll cover chapters 43 through 48 of the Fires of Heaven. So until then, may you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you know good hunting, young bull, and she's to give you many cubs.
Doviende se toviatis again.
Adam got it right.
He did, yay.